Living in nature is freedom because it allows you to get as close as possible to how our ancestors used to live. And this is the only way we were designed to live, truly, genetically. We've been evolving in Eastern Africa for millions of years. Even before Homo sapiens, we've been evolving in that region. We've been evolving in nature. Even people who moved out from Africa into the Arabian Peninsula and then north to Europe and Asia, they all lived in nature. No one evolved in a city. That is not a thing. We as humans are supposed to live here. We are supposed to roam large spaces, large expanses of nature. We're supposed to see this complex geometry, not just right angles and weird things we've created in the cities, this weird modern architecture. We're not supposed to see that. We're supposed to see trees which are random. These things are what we're supposed to see. It is not right angles of concrete buildings. And certainly we were not supposed to live by millions together in the same space. This is not possible. This is why so many people become depressed nowadays. They've conducted an experiment or something like that. They just brought tribesman somewhere, maybe a Hadza, maybe from the Amazon. He somehow ended up in a big city for the first time, and he was so freaked out. He was in a constant fight or flight because there were so many people he didn't know on the street. We are not supposed to have contact with this many strangers. Like when you live in a tribe, when you see someone who you don't know, it is basically like almost the enemy. Like it is danger. You're supposed to know everyone, even people from neighboring clans. So when you go from like knowing 200 people to having to see thousands upon thousands of strangers in the street, your nervous system is kind of doing its thing, and you are gonna eventually end up being either depressed or anxious or having any other of the modern disorders which they diagnose you with after you've been living in a city for years. So all of that is bullshit. I think living in a place like this would be perfect, but unfortunately for many of us, we still don't have a real opportunity to move to a place which is really reigned by nature. But what you can do is take your first steps towards it. You can take your walk outside, you can go and do stuff outside, you can meditate, you can journal, you can read books, you can walk with your friends outside. A lot of social activities can actually be done outside, like except if you live in Alaska or something like that where it's like minus 30 degrees, or in Russia where I come from. But still, I don't like going to restaurants really. Well, restaurants are kind of fun, but not bars, never nightclubs. The only time I went to a nightclub, I ended up in a fight with some dude because he was basically like saying something to me, and I was like, oh, fuck you, bro. I was extremely defensive. Yeah, that's true. But cities are not places where we're really supposed to live. A lot of people feel like they are made to live in a city, but I don't think it's true. I think deep inside, if they knew what a life looks like outside, they would have chosen it over the city 1,000 times. And a lot of people actually are conscious of that. And I know that there's a lot of people who are like me, who were never really made to live in a city, but were forced by some force. For example, for me, it was immigration. I moved from Russia to France 6 years ago when I was 16 years old. And back in Russia, I had this beautiful house with a garden out there in the nature. And the thing about Russia is, it's the same thing about Canada and the United States or Australia. When you go outside a city, you can actually walk in every direction, and you're gonna basically end up in a place where there's 0 people for the next like 10 kilometers. It was the case even for my region, and even for the Leningrad Oblast, which is like basically the region of St. Petersburg. There was still such expanses that you could go out in the forest and be basically lost for days because you couldn't. There is no one. Like there is nobody. There's like bears and stuff like that, but there is no people. So you can go wherever you want. You've got such a big space which is not even owned by anyone. Like nowadays, when I live in France, right now I live in France, here like wherever you go, there is fields and maybe some occasional forest, and unless it's in a national park, it's owned by someone. So you cannot, like, if you go there, you trespass. So There's a lot of shit happening in the modern life which prevents us from living like our ancestors. But still, you shouldn't lose hope, because I used to be like that. I used to be addicted to plenty of things, video games, junk food, and scrolling. I was spending most of my day in bed because I didn't see any point in going outside. I hated the city. I like walking, but usually when I walk in the city, I put on my headphones and listen to something because I just hate the sound of city. So I'd be addicted, but then I realized that I should actually take action. I should actually go outside and find nature, even if it's a small piece of city, even if it's a local park, or even if it's a 20-minute train ride away. I should still go out there and try. And so I tried, and it completely transformed my life. And I'm not gonna dive deep into this advice today, but if you go out there and you try things out, you're gonna realize that you're actually much closer to nature than you used to think. You don't have to be this dude who knows how to hunt with a bow and who's been roaming this forest for 20 years. If you're a young man, you've got all of your life in front of you, and you've got plenty of time to get used to it, and to go from a guy who has been living in the city but been willing and desiring to live in nature for so long. You can go from that to someone who is actually knowledgeable. So don't be discouraged by all of this stuff. Don't be discouraged by people who either say that the city is the only way to get through life, and other guys who live in nature for the past 20 years and who know everything. You're gonna get it. It's gonna take some time, but you're gonna get it. So take your first steps, go outside, go to your local park, go to your local forest. This is gonna be your first step towards this magnificent journey of actually living a life how our ancestors did. I hope this was helpful. I'll see you next time.